I have a secret to tell you today. You cannot get better at art unless you make ugly art. If you are willing to make ugly art, you can grow exponentially in your art making. Ugly art is all about letting go, being free, take off all the pressure, all the expectation of what you think pretty art would look like for you. Throw it away, get it out of your brain, and just play. That's where the discoveries happen. That's where the experimentation happens. That's when you truly are your authentic self and you're able to just play and let go. So that's my challenge today. Now let's go make some art. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video with your friends. It really helps me out with the algorithm, and I appreciate the love. One of the greatest hacks that I know of when you feel stuck in your art, when you're afraid to push past that messy middle stage, when you're feeling self-conscious, when you're doubting your artistic ability, when you want to try art, but you're afraid because what if it's terrible? What if your vision in your mind about you being creative and you being an artist is destroyed in your ego because you're afraid that your art will actually not look good? I think we've all been there and we will continue to be there again and again. But here's the trick. Make it anyway. And even more than that, make some art that you are intentionally either not caring about the result of, which is difficult, or that you are intentionally trying to make ugly. Do it. It's a hands-on reminder that art materials are meant to be used. So it's impossible to waste them if you're using them to create anything, even if it's ugly. And it's such a freeing thing that in your mind, it's one thing to say, oh, it doesn't matter if my art's not pretty. But when you do it and you feel it and you're consciously making something that is not visually pleasing to your eye, you realize that, hey, it's kind of fun because there's zero expectations for whatever you're making to look pretty when you're doing this. None. Because your goal is to make it ugly. So huge pressure lifted. Nothing to lose here. What's the biggest problem here if your art accidentally looks too pretty to be considered ugly? Okay, not a real problem. Making ugly art will free you of the fear of failure. It will free you from all the doubts in your mind of what if I'm not a real artist? Real artists make ugly art. And real artists are not afraid to make ugly art. They know it's just part of the process. Shortest way I know to get from fear and resistance back to creativity. Similarly, if you are feeling stuck in whatever type of art you're making and you want to try some different type of art, you used to do still lives and now you want to do abstract, but you don't know where to start. I'm using bilateral drawing and bilateral painting here just to take it one step farther away from me having a ton of control. Because if I'm doing things with both hands, I can only pay attention to so much at the same time. I did that intentionally to free myself up even more. So now I have control over my hands, yes, but I'm not left-handed. So that hand's already at a disadvantage. And many of the things are coming across symmetrically because that's the way that I can do this with as little brain power as possible. If I try to focus on one hand or the other, it's just, I don't know, requires more control apparently than I have at this time. And I'm just adding materials, adding materials, adding materials. Is it too busy? Absolutely. Is it absolute chaos? Absolutely. Do I love the color scheme? Don't know, not even thinking about that. There's so much going on, and that is exactly the point. And I'm
too
putting
much,
materials
and
on.
it's too cluttered.
I am loading this up
and
so that it is
it's great.
ridiculous. It's great because it feels so good to not to disregard all of the inner critic thoughts of it's not good enough. Oh gosh, what's this mark? Oh my goodness, what is that? Oh my goodness, these colors. Oh, right. All of those little things that churn and churn and churn in our heads sometimes. This just knocks all of them away. Because great, the colors don't go together. Great, I'm doing it right. I have not met anyone yet that has gone through this exercise that has not found some form of freedom in it. Some like next level feeling of acceptance. Because I would estimate that even if you go through this exercise, pick your least favorite colors, pick colors that are going to clash, choose tools that you typically don't use or don't like, do all the things. You'll probably still find something that you like in it. Maybe not, but maybe. And every time I've tried this, every time I've gone through this exercise, I have ended up liking it more than I thought I would. I think that's because I'm also sentimental and I like having the history and the souvenir of whatever I've made, even if it's not something I would want to publicly promote or try to sell. But you learn that, oh my gosh, actually, these two colors make this beautiful brown that I had never thought of before. Never in a million years would I have thought of all of these colors coming together to make something that actually is pretty. Maybe the colors are horrific and you definitely stand by those as being ugly choices, but you found a new shape. You found a new tool that feels good in your hands. Experimentation is 1,000% of the art experience for me personally, and I think for a lot of you as well. And you cannot experiment, not freely, if you're worried about making a mistake or making something that doesn't look good. So if you want to grow creatively and you want to be able to push past the resistance and the inner critic and all of the things that tell you you're not good enough or that you worry might confirm your fears that you're not good enough, make something intentionally ugly. Play without any worry of something not turning out pretty enough, because that's no longer your goal for this session. I had so much fun making this. I went through different periods of, oh, this is kind of nice. And then I'd add a couple more layers and be like, oh my gosh, what have I done? And it was so fun because I truly didn't care. I was focused on picking different supplies to use. Because of the bilateral drawing, I was focused on using both hands for the most part. Here I started making a departure from that because it's hard to do collage with two scraps at the same time, do it completely with both hands. But by cutting collage and tearing things and gluing down, I'm still using both my hands. So are you wanting to try a new tool, but you're afraid you might not use it well? Are you wanting to try a new style of art, but you're nervous that it's going to be awful? Are you a brand new artist and you're not even comfortable calling yourself an artist yet, but you want to try something? You want to do something out of your comfort zone. You see art, you love watching people make art, and you want to try it yourself, but you don't know where to start? Start here. Grab something, assume it's going to be terrible, let yourself play, decide what feels good, decide what doesn't feel good, decide what doesn't look good. That's just as much of a value to you as tiptoeing around things trying to make it look pretty. And I would argue that tiptoeing around your art stuff is never going to be valuable. It's never going to push you to grow. And it's never going to make you better. You're going to tighten up and you're going to be the anxious artist. So put that aside. Let your freedom go, in the best sense of that word. Embrace your freedom to do whatever you want with art supplies and just go for it. No one has to see it. Don't have to tell anybody about it. Just have a blast. Put things on paper and pat yourself on the back because you did it. Have you ever made ugly art? Did it surprise you? Tell me about it in the comments.